Are you ready for us? Okay, I'm going to call to order the special meeting of the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District on Wednesday, October 11, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. Mr. Tate, would you please call the roll?
Director McNarland.
Present.
Director Marshall.
Present.
Vice Chair Page.
Present.
Chairman Uncle.
Present. I'm going to call
Director Sakowitz is absent.
Go to item number 2 of the agenda, public expression. The board welcomes participation in board meetings. Comments shall be limited so that everyone may be heard. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the board which are not on the posted agenda and items which have not already been considered by the board. The board limits testimony on matters not on the agenda to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes for a particular subject at the discretion of the chair of the board. No action will be taken. Individuals wishing to address the board on items on the agenda will be given an opportunity to do so when the item is addressed by the board. The board limits testimony on matters on the agenda to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes per particular subject at the discretion of the chair of the board. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the podium and state their name.
Hi, Maureen Mulhern, City of Ukiah resident, Ukiah Valley Sanitation District ratepayer and member of the Ukiah City Council. I just wanted to briefly state I am here to hear more about the agenda items. I have been watching the meetings on YouTube and I did feel considerable angst. Is a really good word for the calling of a special meeting when our community is in such distress right now. I have been helping my clients deal with claims. We are undergoing a serious traumatic event in our community, and I know that you have a regularly scheduled meeting next week, so I'm disappointed that this special meeting was called.
Jim Brown, Ukiah resident, also a member of the Ukiah City Council. I too am very disappointed that this is a special meeting. We've called many special meetings. This is mundane agenda items that can be taken up in any meeting. You called it during a public disaster, which I think is absolutely shameful for you to do that. People cannot attend this meeting knowing what's going on. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should take up business when you should take up business. Special meetings should be held for special occasions, special purposes.
Anyone else wishing to address public expression? Seeing none, public expression is closed. We will move on to item number 3, discussion and possible action regarding changing the regular board meeting date and time. Mr. Tate?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the board had discussed possibility of changing their meeting days during the week. So the resolution that Mr. Osak has prepared states that under future meetings they would be held on the third Wednesday of every week, of every month, instead of the third Thursday.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just want to thank the board for taking this matter up because, as you know, I was late to our last meeting held on a Thursday. My daughter's schedule conflicts with Thursday meetings and I have to make other arrangements every Thursday. And then when we call a special meeting on a Thursday, it's just really inconvenient. Wednesdays are a completely open day for me. And I just thank the board for accommodating my schedule and just bringing this on the agenda. And I would like to see our meetings move to Wednesday, please.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I likewise need to reinforce because apparently it's upsetting some people that we're having this meeting on a Wednesday. I understand that meeting on Thursdays was not working well for everyone, so Wednesday seemed like a better idea, so I think that was done well before this disaster happened. And as we move through this agenda here, you'll find out, as you said, it's Monday. There's nothing particular about it. So I don't see that it was anything that was being slid under the table.
Any members of the public wishing to make a comment?
My name is Andrea Reed. I'm the district ratepayer.
I feel that this item on the agenda should be addressed after the election. There is a high probability that there will be 3 new board members on the board after the election. And it's difficult when you change dates back and forth. So if we get 3 new board members on and that date doesn't work for them, what are we going to do at that point? So I feel like it's a little bit late in the game to be changing that, and there could be a lot of other schedules to take into consideration. And also having it on a Wednesday will be difficult since there's a lot of other meetings that also happen on Wednesdays, and there are people that like to be at both of them. So that would be a difficult day to have on.
Yep. Jim Brown, Ukiah resident, member of the City Council. I think you guys all know that the City Council meets on Mondays and Wednesdays, the first and the third. So this conflicts with the third Wednesday. I'm really sorry that you have conflicts with your family. However, I would ask you to consider maybe a Monday, which seems to be probably a more appropriate day. You know, there's going to be a time when this board and the City Council is going to have to work together. We have a joint partnership in a wastewater treatment plant that is paramount to the operation of the City of Ukiah and to the district payers in the district. We're going to have to work together. We're going to have to meet together. So having the third Wednesday of the month is going to be in a direct conflict of when maybe we need to be here to share information with you, or we request you come to our meeting and share information with us. So I would ask that you look at a different day. Thank you.
Do I need to reintroduce myself?
Yes, you do.
Maureen Mulhern, Ukiah City Council member. And in that vein, when I ran for election in 2014, as a single mother, I switched my entire custody schedule so that I did not have my daughter on Wednesday nights so that I could be at City Council meetings. I understand the need for childcare. When you are elected to a board, your family arrangements need to understand that you have an obligation. So again, I appreciate the need to look at and review schedules, but when you choose to be part of a government body, you're making a choice to have that as a priority.
Any other members of the public wishing to address the matter? Seeing none,
I wish to
public
respond.
expression is closed.
I wish to respond.
Board comments?
Thank you. God, family, country is the order of my life. Thank you. I thought having this meeting on Wednesdays would accommodate the City Council so we could have joint meetings. Obviously, that's not a priority because you would like us to have Monday meetings. I'm not going to, I've redone my child's schedule many times. I do not see the need to make this board schedule around City Council meetings. If we have meetings on the same date, then we can meet jointly like we should be according to our participation agreement. Secondly, addressing candidate Reed's comments, what polling data do you have that it is likely that we will have 3 new members on this board and that we should change our schedule to accommodate the possibility of your polling data saying we're going to have 3 new members on this board? I challenge that polling data. Would you like to produce it? No, sorry. It's not a question. If we want to have joint meetings, Wednesdays work out best with the city. I would like our meetings to be Wednesdays now. Thursdays are not working out. If Wednesdays accommodate this board, I would like them to be Wednesdays. According to City Councilmember Mulhern, if that doesn't work for you, you should change your family schedule. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board members?
Yeah, actually, I kind of appreciate the fervor by which the city council members have vented their frustration, because it does indicate the challenges that we have as a sanitation board. We, as far as I know, we wanted to call this meeting well before any natural disaster had occurred. We wanted to resolve something that had been set before us last meeting, which has to do with this attorney agreement. We accommodated the comments that were made by the public, and we called this meeting well before anybody knew that all these hardships would happen. And I feel a little bit like, speaking of angst, you guys apparently are more affected by the disasters that have happened than we are. All of us have had somebody that's been affected. So your position at the city doesn't make you singularly in possession of this disaster. Second of all, we do want to make an effort to cooperate, work. I think you are all fine representatives of the city. You haven't heard us come out and nail you guys for anything. But just sitting here, now hearing what you guys have got against us, I actually really appreciate that. Because it does show that, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get along. When we make a decision, trying to accommodate, next thing you know, we're getting this kind of stuff, yeah, it makes it hard. Well, that's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Gage? Well, the chair's been on this board for 9 years. The chair has never missed a meeting. The chair has rescheduled his meetings in my life time and again to accommodate Thursday night meetings. Thursday night doesn't work for me either. We did Thursday night to accommodate a long gone Sand District director, and have never gone back and said, gee, Thursdays don't work, let's try and do something. So at this point, we have before us a motion and a resolution to move the date to the third Wednesday of the month.
So moved.
Motion? Second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would like to make the discussion, because it was brought up that well, first of all, Mondays are out. There's just no way I'm going to make a Monday work. The Wednesdays was brought up. So we have the city meeting on, what was it, the second?
First and third.
First and third Wednesday.
Maybe the second Wednesday.
Sorry?
Recommend the second Wednesday.
So at this point, I would like to make a consideration that if the second Wednesday is as valid or as viable as the third, in other words, we can do the alternate, because I think that might serve both members of the district as well, the district members as well.
We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second for the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
Covering the resolution.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
I'm not changing my motion. I'm not withdrawing it or changing it.
Reading the resolution.
I think it'll better accommodate joint meetings.
Resolution 17-02, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District designating the standing meeting date and time for Board of Directors meeting. Whereas the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District is a county sanitation district formed in 1954 pursuant to provisions of Section 4730 of the State of California Health and Safety Code, and the composition of the board was established in accordance with said section, and whereas the district Board of Directors authorized a modification and change in the board composition to 5-member district-wide elected board members pursuant to the provisions of Section 4730.1B1 of said code. And whereas members of the district board have requested the chair to bring forward a proposal to change the current meeting date time from the third Thursday of each month. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of Directors of the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District that the regular meetings will be conducted on the third Wednesday of each month, commencing at 6 p.m. to be time of day to be held in the district business office unless otherwise modified or noticed. Be further resolved that this resolution will supersede any previous meeting schedule on record with the district secretary clerk of the board.
Resolution has been read. A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-1. Meeting date is now the third Wednesday of the month. Move on to item number 4, discussion of possible action regarding the amendment to the legal contract with the law firm of Duncan Gaines. This item is being brought back at the board's request Section 10 of the proposed agreement has been modified as requested. Mr. Tate.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I brought this item to the board's attention originally because it was a five-year-old contract, and I wanted to update any rates or any changes to the contract that we made consistent with other contracts we brought before the board to be updated. So that's why this contract was brought. We heard from both the public and from the directors at the last meeting that they wanted language reintroduced into the contract that was in the former contract. That language is in the third paragraph of item 10 that starts, client may discharge attorney at any time. Mr. Osak, I believe that public law states that that can be exercised whether it's in a contract or not.
That's correct. Under the rule of professional conduct for attorneys, regardless of the language of the contract, the client always has the opportunity and ability to retain different counsel and discharge your current ones. It simply spells it out. It says client may discharge attorney at any time. Attorney may withdraw the client's consent or with good cause. Both parties have the same ability.
So even though it's not required, just for the board's information, it's not required to be in the contract. We brought it back. I requested that the legal staff put it back in the contract, and it's been done. I think Vice Chairman Page requested it as well. I think Mr. Director Marshall did as well. So, anyways, it's been reintroduced back in the contract. That was the only change made. Mr. Olson, that the only change?
That was the only change it was.
So.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No, I did want to mention that the contract, as Joe had just got to talking about, we already had a contract with the attorney, right? In light of just going through the paperwork, time to get a contract written up.
Well, and as
Updated.
Mr. Olson can opine or weigh in on, the rates were as of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So I had asked if there were any rate changes to include those in the contract. What I discovered when speaking with the legal staff is most of those rates by Mr. Olson and Mr. James are unchanged in this contract. So the same rates exist.
This updated contract.
At this time, members of the public wishing to address this item may come forward.
Thank you. Jim Brown, Ukiah resident, member of the City Council. You know, I just have one concern in one area of the contract, and it's where, and there's an undisclosed amount of money that will be deposited into a trust account that can be accessed by the attorney without any pre-authorization from anybody on the sanitation board. I actually find that probably not good business to have an attorneys write their own checks whenever they feel like it. So I would just please ask that this board take a look and review that paragraph that's in the contract. It seems to me like if you have, I don't know, I know that you got a check for about $4.5 million hanging around someplace. If you have that much money, putting it either in a revocable trust or a irrevocable trust doesn't make sense. It seems to me like it should be making money in a money market account and should be your public agency, and the public should know exactly where that money stands. So if you could look at that paragraph, I appreciate it.
What is that?
Mr. Chair, can I ask you? Yeah, please. Two questions, Mr. Brown. One, what paragraph are you talking about? And the second, before you answer that, is the check that the county received from or the district received from the city was deposited with the county.
Okay. I'm just saying, you got the money, I don't know where it's at.
Matter of public record, the city seems to keep track of where the county puts its money.
Mr. Lozak, I don't appreciate the tone of your voice.
Mr. Brown,
Do you want to
public
no,
expression.
excuse me? That's not, okay.
2.4 for item 4. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, I believe the amount is $0. And
It's an undisclosed amount. I mean, nobody puts
No, it's not.
$0 in a trust account. Come on.
Because there's none required in a trust account. If you can't read a contract, that's your problem.
And you know what, once again, Mr. Losak, I do appreciate what Mr. Brown has to say. It does indicate, and there's a clear indication of why it's difficult. I mean, this whole idea about sitting down at a table and all singing together, just, it's a lot easier to say that's gonna happen than it actually does, you know?
It is. But the contract speaks for itself. It says $0 in advance and attorney fees.
And I understand that.
Chris Ostrom, local business owner in,
Are you resident of the sanitation district?
what's that?
Are you resident of the sanitation?
I am, sir. Yeah, twice. Yeah. So, and he's right, the contract does speak for itself. So I'm not a public speaker. I'm not good at this. I mentioned that last week. Just saying that again. So I'm just going to read what I put together for you. So first of all, I agree with what was said earlier. This special meeting in the county crisis, I think, is shameful.
We're discussing.
I understand. So just wanted to say that. But as a local citizen and a business owner who is paying for this lawsuit twice, I have great concerns about the proposed new contract for the law offices of Duncan and James. I would urge you all to reject this contract completely as it is, and here's why. Item 6 says that they will charge $110 an hour for paralegal, including support services. So in addition to paying for the lawyer's time, you're also paying $110 an hour for a secretary to type a 2-page letter, make copies, etc. I've called several other law offices, and this is not normal practice. They're using you as a cash cow, and they're just getting you. Item 10, the at-will clause. Yes, you've stated it doesn't even need to be in there, but even having it in there, it's useless where it is. When they were contracting everything above that clause until June 30th, 2022, which not only includes all current matters named in the contract, but also future matters. In other words, you can terminate them, but they'll still get paid for everything through June 30th, 2022, because that is written in the contract. So the fact that you can terminate them is absolutely useless when they guarantee themselves, they lock themselves in there for the next 4 or 5 years. And I have consulted legal to verify that, and that is just, I think, shameful. Item 12, I think this is probably the worst part of all of it. We've already determined that this law firm is grossly overcharging for its services based on item 6, but this is a real concern. This states that it does not matter what a judge, jury, or tribunal decides is fair cost. For instance, if they charge us $60,000 and we go to court and the judge or whatever form looks it over and overrules and says, you know what, this is unfair, and they determine that $35,000 are reasonable attorney fees. It doesn't matter what's ruled, what the judgment is. It's written into the contract. They say whatever they want to pay, whatever they want to charge, and you are, I mean, they got you good. You have to pay whatever they charge. So if they want to charge you 3 times, 10 times, whatever is reasonable, you have no say in the matter. You have to pay.
Thank you.
And I'm paying for that twice.
Any other members of the public wishing to address this item?
Yes, Don Crawford, I'm a district ratepayer. At the last meeting, I think it was Mr. Marshall agreed that you would possibly, under good advice from someone else, have a third party review this contract. It was something that was brought up by Mr. Buffalo, and I think the conversation seemed to intimate that maybe that was a good idea. Obviously that wasn't done because this iteration of that agreement was written by a lawyer. It's clear that the lawyer's interests supersede who you're supposed to represent, which is the ratepayers. There's clauses 6, 7, 10, 12. Those are definitely written for the benefit of the lawyer and not the ratepayer. You're mandated to represent our interests. I will issue this one challenge to you unless all 5 of you can explain to me, or 4 of you, what's in each of those paragraphs and what it impacts the ratepayers. Unless you can answer that concisely and clearly, then you have no business at all voting on this, because you represent us. And this is clearly a work of art from his boss. So I would, in good ethical conduct, urge you to be careful about approving this without knowing exactly what each clause indicates for the ratepayer. Thank you.
Andrea Reed, Mr. Ratepayer, and along with Dawn, I'm curious, last meeting you had indicated that you agreed that it would be an important to have somebody else take a look at that, and I'm just curious how that got glossed over. I know that you and I, you've heard me speak, we've talked, and there have been things that we've seen eye to eye on, and I was really impressed that you were willing to stand up and say that, so I'm just wondering what type of follow through you had to make sure that happened. What follow through did you see?
Well, first of all, I need to know, isn't that, that's public comment, and then we move to board comments. So I can address that once we finish public comment.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just also very curious, there was a meeting that was set up last week to discuss this. It was agreed to go to the next regular meeting, which would be next week. And now, at that last week's meeting, it was clearly stated that we weren't in a hurry because the contract hadn't expired, there wasn't anything else. And so it seems a little fishy to me that there have been 2 meetings before a regularly held meeting where this is trying to get approved. I don't understand what the urgency is. And so I'm hoping also during board comment that you can address that for me as well, how you each individually feel that this is time sensitive enough to call 2 special meetings to bring it forward. And I know that there have been other agenda items on those agendas and for those meetings, but again, neither of those agendas have had anything that I consider to be time sensitive that couldn't have waited until the next regularly held meeting. So if you could address those for me, I'd like to hear from each of the board members of the board on that, please. Thank you.
Anyone else coming forward? Seeing no one, public expression is closed. Comments from the board?
Well, I can address a couple of things that were brought up. I can start with what this gentleman was talking about, paralegal. The idea of the paralegal is to avoid extra costs, because if somebody does have to type a letter, I'd rather have a paralegal who charges less than an attorney put that kind of paperwork together. In fact, I think it's more an equitable thing than paying full attorney wages. So I think that the paralegal is probably a good idea.
What I was saying is other law.
Excuse me, public expression is over.
One of the challenges with having any kind of board meetings, as I'm sure the city council members are aware of, is that you try to have a discussion, you try to exchange ideas. And when you feel like, whoa, I'm going to be put on the defensive here, I mean, it limits the opportunity to exchange ideas, because for the next 20 minutes you either shut down or you start getting louder, and obviously that doesn't help anyone. I did want to point out one detail that seems to be overlooked here. We needed an attorney. We used to have an attorney assigned to us by, was it the county? Okay. And we had but we were no longer afforded that. The last one we had, I think, was Jean Nadell. Was that right?
It was actually myself and
It was Devin. And Janine before Doug.
Right. And so this idea of us hiring an attorney is required. We have to have an attorney. And so, as it just so happens, we did solicit, we looked around, we found an attorney that we felt confident in, and that's how, and Doug and James ended up with the contract. And as far as this contract goes, as I stated earlier with Joe, Mr. Tate, this is just basically the same contract as we'd seen before. On our prior review by the board, my indication was that we had to look at that one particular clause, because that seemed to be the number one objection, is that the attorney was in charge of the ending their services. We looked at it, we changed it. That was it. I mean, I don't know how many people I gotta get to review that one decision. It seems to me pretty simple, and that's what we had done. So I don't know if I gotta call people to say, hey, we changed this. Do we wanna change this? Do we don't wanna change it? We changed it. And there was one other thing I didn't want to mention. Where did it go? Just a minute. Oh, the time sensitive. I don't know. Perhaps not. Perhaps this isn't time sensitive, but that's basically what we do. We call a board meeting, we make a decision. Time sensitive? I don't know. I get here to approve a contract. Are you saying wait another month? Is that what you're saying? I don't know.
A week.
A week? Why, would a week make a difference? As far as I know, we gotta get a contract written up. I'm getting a contract written up. So I think a lot of this just kind of plays into the idea that there is, once again, it's gonna be us versus them. It's gonna be, make us look bad. It's gonna be, hey, if we can keep attack, we're gonna get the upper hand. And clearly, that's been the method that's being used. So, success with that. But at this point, I'm looking at what's before me and I feel pretty good about it. So, there you go.
Any other comments?
I requested each of the board members respond.
I'm sorry, the public expression is closed. Cat calls from the audience are not acceptable.
That wasn't a cat call.
It was an interruption of the meeting, Mr. Crawford, and your response is out of order as well. The public expression is closed. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Doug. So I read items number 4 and 5, advance costs and deposit, to be something that was maybe on a template.
It is.
But because we're paying 0 on each, it doesn't even pertain to us.
That's correct.
Thank you. So my interpretation of that is correct. It could even be excluded from the contract since it's 0.
It could have, but we generally use the form for every one of our
It's a
contracts.
template.
And this is what it is, and when it doesn't apply, we put in a $0 amount.
It does say 0, and it does say,
0 is advanced attorney's fees, and 0 is advanced costs,
thank you.
in both 4 and 5.
Okay, and then the question that, or the comment that Mr. Oster made regarding our ability to terminate, because that's, it's placement within the contract,
I have no idea.
supersedes everything before it on the
I
contract.
have no idea who we spoke to. This is legally binding on us. It gives the district the ability to terminate the contract. It gives the law firm the ability to terminate the contract. And as I stated before, in the rule of professional conduct that governs attorneys, clients are allowed to terminate the contract at will. It does not need to be expressed in the contract because there was concern from the board. We added that language back in, and it is there. Different people have different opinions on what legal contracts mean and what words mean.
Okay, but we have it on record on camera that we can terminate this contract without incurring any further costs. Thank you.
You have to pay for costs up to the time of
Up to the
termination.
time of the termination, of course. That's what I would expect. Secondly, may I continue? As I saw this special meeting, it was called so that we could change the date of our next meeting to accommodate a couple of our schedules. And since this was pending business, it was placed on the agenda. So the purpose of calling this meeting wasn't specifically for this one agenda item, according to my belief. I think it was to accommodate our schedules and reschedule our next meeting. So there's no trying to sneak this in or anything. It's in public for how long now? Weeks, this contract. Thank you. Members, the majority of the members of the public that have spoken to delay this or not approve this are also members that I've heard stand before this board and say specifically and exactly that we need to drop our lawsuit with the city. So I believe that those opinions are biased and they should be weighed so when making our decisions. Thank you.
Well, the reason I didn't approve this the last time, because basically I told them point blank I wasn't going to approve it because it didn't have an at will. And that needed to be in plain language. And I wasn't going to approve the past contract. Because if it wasn't plain language that I can terminate the attorney at any time, I wasn't going to have it because it didn't give me a warm feeling. And that's, well, it didn't. I wasn't going to approve it.
Do you have a warm feeling now, Bob?
Well, because it basically got rewritten and that's the way it should be. I mean, there shouldn't be any, that's the only objection I had to the whole thing. But, okay, that's it.
Well, the chair would like to opine that given an attempt to review the 920-page City of Ukiah budget, which I'm sure everybody on the City Council has gone through, we found a few things that kind of led me to believe that having an attorney and an attorney under contract was probably in the best interest of the ratepayers. In the city manager's portion of the budget, it says management expects to spend at least $1.7 million on legal fees in the city's defense of the lawsuit brought by the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District. In the enterprise fund portion of the budget, there is a footnote that says $1.75 million of materials, supplies, and other operating costs are estimated cost of litigation in defense of the lawsuit brought by the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District. Now, I don't know where the public is generally going to find in a statement that says that we've got material, supplies, and other operating costs are in fact attorney's fees. And why those fees are not shown in the attorney's portion of the budget confuses me. But I think that given where we're at and the fact that we have for quite some time attempted to resolve the matter before us in litigation, even to and including starting with a claim that was done in 2013 and denied by the city. In order to defend the ratepayers from what is continually going on, we must have a contract with an attorney. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Losak, this contract will lock our fees. We're paying the law firm in until 2022. Is that correct?
I don't believe it locks the fees in. They can be increased.
By mutual consent.
Yeah. I'd have to look at it.
So that having been said,
I have one more comment.
yes.
According to Robert's Rules of Orders, I'm allowed to, per topic. Also, I believe it's important to keep our current attorneys. They've had to file 48 different 48 requests for public information. When they've requested documents from the city, they've been delivered 60,000 pieces of paper. Not on a disc, not on a flash drive. When they request a document, they've been given 60,000 pieces of paper. And I've had to go through every single piece of paper looking for what they requested. I do not want to have to hire another attorney to go through those 60,000 pieces of paper again, or the 900-page budget that was slapped on our desk just a couple months ago. By the way, this is Constitution of the United States. City budget. I think it's important that we keep the attorneys we have because of all the work they've put in, and they're knowledgeable about our board. Mr. Lozak has been our attorney prior to working in the firm he's currently in, so he knows about governing bodies. He worked for the County of Mendocino. I think this law firm is an asset to us, and I think we need to approve this budget. And whenever you're ready for a motion, I will so move. Or approve this contract, excuse me.
You need a motion to approve the contract?
Yes.
Motion. I have a second. Any further discussion? Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Losak was part of the legal team at the city, or at the County of Mendocino when we commenced a lawsuit against the city of Ukiah for the Mendocino Brewing Company hookup fees that were not delivered to the sanitation district pursuant to the participation agreement.
Oh, right.
And he was one of the attorneys that was successful in getting that lawsuit after 2 years resolved with the city paying 100% of our claim. So, having that continuity does help. So,
Well, in light of that, I would like to also state that there has been a lot of progress made through the lawsuit. And I believe that we are still currently successfully pursuing mediation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. And so everything that we have been, I don't want to say accused, but has been levied before the board as being unwilling, and this mediation thing is time for us to mediate. I believe that's what we've been doing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Interesting.
Meeting.
So,
well, and I think that, the fact that the slap suit that was brought by the city of Ukiah against the board, which was adjudicated at the Superior Court level in favor of the sanitation district, and then the appeal by the city of Ukiah, which was denied at the appellate court level, has allowed us to focus more towards getting mediation done rather than retaliatory suits. So, that having been said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries 4-0. Contract will be extended. And that brings us to item number 5. One of the other reasons why we're having this meeting, closed session. Okay. Contract from legal counsel regarding existing litigation.
5 minutes later,
Okay, we're going to return to open session of the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District, special meeting of October 11th, 2017 at 6:31 p.m. We'll report out of closed session, no action was taken. And the next item on the agenda suggests that we're going to adjourn until the next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be Wednesday, October 18th at 6 p.m. as per resolution number 17-02 adopted this evening. Thank you.